And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Natasha Munro, all the way from Wellington House, London. Natasha, the stage is yours. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity that's been given to me to talk about the sponsorship program and my journey on the sponsorship program. I joined the sponsorship program towards the end of 2018, and I remember it was just before this conference was due to happen, and I had a call from the PA of our then CFO to let me know that there was a ticket available, and as the first sponsee in the organization, they wanted me to attend. I said yes, and I immediately thought, after I said yes, I'm not going to know anyone there, because usually these tickets are reserved for only the very senior finance people in the organization. And I came, and I remember seeing people on the stage doing their presentations and their talks very confidently. And I'm just reflecting back to how 2018 was when I started on the sponsorship program, but also that it was the first time I attended this conference. And it's really surreal that I'm actually on the stage talking about my journey through the sponsorship program and sharing about it. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. So if I come across as nervous, you know and understand why. So like I said, I joined the program in 2018, and I was at the point in my career where I was starting to think about what I would need to do in order to progress. And my thinking was, how do I get to the next banding? Is it within my team or even within my organization? What help do I need? What skills gaps do I have? What support is there available for me? But also thinking about, as you progress and as you become more senior, the importance of, you're always hearing the importance about relationship building, widening your network, getting to know the right people, building your influencing skills, visibility. People actually need to know that you're there. So those are the thoughts that were in my head when I went onto the Future Focus Finance website to see what was available. And that's how I got onto the sponsorship program. And at the time, it was geared towards finance colleagues looking for career progression who were 8A and above and who were female and or from a Black, Asian, or minority ethnic background. And I said, great, that's me. So I contacted the team to find out whether there were any sponsors in my organization and whether I could be paired with someone. I heard from them a few weeks later, and they said, yes, potentially there's someone that I could be paired with, and they wanted to set up a meeting. I didn't know my sponsor. My sponsor didn't know me. I'm based in London, and he's based in Manchester. And my thoughts were, well, how are we going to relate? How could he possibly know my experiences and what I'm going through? Will I feel comfortable speaking to him? Our first meeting was virtual, and I prepared for our meeting as if I was going for a job interview. I read up on what I'd done in the past. I thought about, where do I want to be in the next 5 years so I can answer that question. Why was this important for me? Why was this program important for me? And but very quickly into the meeting, Jonathan, who's my sponsor, put my mind at ease. We did talk about, past experience, how I got to where I am. He talked about his experience and how he got to where he is, but also about, his official and unofficial sponsors that he's had through his career. And I talked about why I thought this was a good program for me, and he talked about why he thought, as a senior leader, why he wanted to be a sponsor. Jonathan asked me a question which I wasn't prepared for, and I don't think I thought about it before going in, but he asked me, have you ever been discriminated against? Or have you ever thought or experienced, any barriers to your career? And I had to think about that for a second because I wasn't expecting that question. And my response to him was, I have colleagues who can very clearly pinpoint, instances of racism or, they've been just discriminated against because of, their sex. So they've got instances where they can actually relate to me. And I said, I find that hard to answer because I can't specifically pinpoint, that was definitely, because of my race. You've said that, you've done that because of that. Or I've been, there's a barrier because, I just wouldn't fit into the team because of sexism. But what I did say was, often when I've gone to interviews and, you get the feedback of, oh, it's between you and the other person. And if that person wasn't there, it would definitely have been yours. And you sort of ask, well, can you give me a bit more than that? Which areas do you think I lacked on so I can work on it? And the interviewer is just not able to give you really good feedback on what it is that you're missing out on. And I said to Jonathan, those are the instances where, I start thinking, well, actually, is there a different reason? Is it because I won't fit into your team? So I start thinking about the interview and, the interactions that happen within the interview, the attitudes of people within the interview. I start thinking, oh, actually, would I have fitted into your team? When I look at your team, would I have fit into the team? Is that the reason? So sometimes it can be really subtle. You can't really pinpoint on specific things. So that's the example I gave him. And we agreed to go ahead. We said that we would be sponsor and sponsee, and we would see how things go. And I know it's not the same for every relationship because you need to feel comfortable because there will be times when your sponsor will say things that, will be quite challenging. And you might have to say things to your sponsor which you don't feel comfortable with. So I know not all sponsee and sponsor relationships just, you agree that you're going to go ahead. But we agreed to go ahead, and we set some ground rules. We said we would meet every month, whether it was virtual or in person. Both of us would have actions that we take from every meeting that we have to stick to. We'd keep in contact, whether it's, through text or email, or, calling each other on the phone to see how we were doing and how we were getting along. And Jonathan asked me, okay, in terms of career progression, what are you thinking? What does that mean? And in my head, I was thinking, oh, well, actually, how do I get to the next band? How do I progress in my organization? And he said, well, actually, why are you limiting yourself? The NHS is such a big organization. There are various elements. Why are you only thinking about your own organizations? There's providers, there's CCGs, there's arm's length bodies with different finance functions. And I said, well, actually, yes, that is true. And he said, well, why don't we try by, at least me putting you into contact with different DOFs or CFOs to see if they'd be willing for you to come and attend some of their senior meetings so you could actually see what happens within trusts and CCGs. So he facilitated that. He helped me connect with different trusts and DOFs and CCG DOFs as well. So I didn't just attend the meetings. Luckily, they were willing to allow me to shadow them. For most of them, I was able to shadow them for the day, and I thank them for offering that and giving me that time. But I think one of the best parts of actually shadowing them was not just attending their senior meetings and seeing what happens, was the actual conversations I had with them. They talked about their careers, they talked about their formal and informal sponsors, they talked about the help they've had. So I had male and female DOFs that I shadowed, and the female DOF, she was able to talk to me about the fact that she has children and the impact that had on her career, the support that she had in order to get to where she was. So again, thank you to those people for helping me with that. So I got to experience not just my own organization, but providers and trusts and what's actually happening in there. They talked to me about how they support their own staff, what they look for in candidates when they're interviewing. So that was really helpful, hearing it from them. Jonathan helped me. So like I said before, you go to interviews and it's the same feedback. Oh, if the other person wasn't there, it would have been your job. So I was saying, okay, what is it that I'm missing? What are the skills that I'm missing? Which areas do I need to cover? So we started talking about interviewing technique, and we talked about, how are you approaching your applications? Are you answering the questions that they are asking you? Unfortunately, the pandemic happened, and we sort of said, well, actually, no one's recruiting anymore. But instead of just, sitting back and saying, well, I can't do anything anymore, I then started talking about, okay, while I'm waiting, what can I do? So we started talking about secondments and stretch assignments. How can I fill those gaps while I'm waiting so that, 6 months down the line, when I do go for an interview for a new role, I can say, well, actually, over the past 6 months, I did a stretch assignment into a different team, and this is what I can offer now. So our focus slightly changed, and that was through the support from my sponsor, talking it through, thinking, well, actually, you don't just have to sit and wait around. There are other options. I secured a secondment, which fortunately turned into a permanent role as well. So I'm really happy about that. But I just wanted to touch on, that's been my experience, and it's been an amazing experience, knowing that I had the confidence from a senior person in the organization, knowing that he was advocating for me has been really helpful. But also I want to touch on the actual sponsee, the rest of the sponsees. So in 2019, I contacted the team again to find out, are there any other sponsees? Because it's a bit lonely. It was me and my sponsor. But I felt that actually maybe I can learn from other sponsees. I mean, I was thinking about, shadowing, doing stretch assignments, secondments. But is there something else I'm missing? And they put me into contact with the rest of the sponsees, and that's how the sponsee network came to be. At the time, we were about 10 sponsees on the program. We've now grown to more than 150 sponsees across England. And I just want to touch on that fact that we've got 150 sponsees ranging between 8A and 8D. We've got your future leaders, we've got your pipeline, we just need your support now to get to where you are. These are the future leaders, these are the DOFs and CFOs of the future. So that group of 10 has grown to more than 150. Because we were all new to the program, everything was new. We contributed to the program. What we said was, well, actually, you've badged the program as 8A and above. Are we placing another barrier? There are band 6s and band 7s who've been band 6s and 7s for 5 years. They're just not being promoted. Are we blocking them? We need to open it up to everyone. We shouldn't be placing bandings. We might not have a band 6 being sponsored by a CFO, but we can definitely have a 6 being sponsored by an 8A. So the program's been opened up to all bandings. Like I said in the start, it was geared toward female or individuals, Black, Asian, and minority ethnic background. We said, well, actually, is that again, why are we restricting, why are we not opening it up to all individuals from underrepresented groups at director level? So we opened it up to individuals who identify as disabled. We've opened up the group to include our colleagues who identify as LGBTQ+, in addition to being female as well as Black, Asian, and from an ethnic minority background. So our group has grown significantly. We put together as a group a sponsee book, a workbook, very practical advice. Things like, what's the difference between a sponsor, mentor, and a coach? Is sponsorship the right route for you, or perhaps you need a mentor? We're really practical, because at the start we felt that we were sort of finding things out for ourselves. So in the workbook we have things like, for your first meeting, this is what you should be talking about. How do you find a sponsor? If not through the sponsorship network, how can you go about finding a sponsor for yourself? So it's very practical things that we've put into the workbook. And I just want to touch on, the support, sort of not the unexpected, but the additional benefits that I've gained is confidence. The fact that I'm standing here talking about the program, it's due to the program. The fact that I've had a sponsor and a team behind me, sort of pushing me, telling me, well, actually, if you don't step out and try, you'll never know if you can do it. So that's sort of one of the reasons I'm here. I'm stepping out, and I have the confidence of my sponsor telling me, well, you can share your story, because someone might be in the audience who really needs to hear it. So I would say any senior finance leaders who are interested in the sponsorship program, please do step forward. There might be a very shy person who's an 8A in your team who just needs that extra help and support from a senior person to identify, well, actually, I can see something in you. I am willing to sponsor you. So I just want to end off with that. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. So, okay. So Natasha, I think you're going to get a rush and a run on applications after this. Thank you very much for showing us what we need to do, actually. That was really insightful, and a massive respect to you for doing that. I'm hugely humbled by you being here. Thank you so much.